Alright guys, welcome to Mud Road. I know, I got the fluffy hat on today. For those of you that are new viewers, head down to the description and there'll be timestamps so you can jump around the video and watch what you want. Further, if you're new, I need to inform you that I use pro-Ukrainian, they favor Ukraine, Western, United States, England, Germany, Western media sources to source the information I give you. I find it's best that I use pro-Ukrainian and Western sources to try to prove my point, because some people will say that I favor one side over the other. So I'm upfront about it. I'm not propaganda. I don't hide my motivation, and I don't hide where I get my information. We are starting with I got a couple maps, and then we get to the story. I don't want to bore you with maps, but I have to touch on the maps. This is an overview of Ukraine and the area. If you can see me circling it, we're going to center on is going to be right there. Now, this will be a closer look at Bakhmut. This is a Russian source. According to this source, allegedly 8 months ago, they were down here where the brown line is. It has been slow going all the way up to this orange line. And from the orange line to the red line, there has been rapid progress, as has allegedly been reported. And I'm going to show you some Western sources next to try to validate that alleged and take that label off of it. So let's look at that now. This first story is from The Guardian. This is a pro-Ukrainian Western media source. Just so you know, this source favors Ukraine. Now let's read the headline. Ukraine war live. Ukraine struggling to hold Bakhmut, military sources say as it happens. That's a little dull. I think I can lighten up that title. Ukraine getting his ass spanked to hold Bakhmut, military sources say, as they watch it kaboom in front of them. All right, I'll get more serious. So we get into the story. It says military sources said Ukraine forces were now struggling to hold the city after the Ukrainian army withdraws from a nearby city of Soledar last week. The Ukrainian forces don't have enough artillery. I've been telling people that before. Now the pro-Ukrainian media source, The Guardian, is saying the same thing. Now let's go back here. The risk of Bakhmut being encircled was said to be growing, with the Ukrainian army facing shortages of artillery that could hold back any advances from the Russian forces. Translation, the Russians are kicking that Ukrainian ass. Wagner troops in particular. They are steamrolling over them. I don't think Bakhmut would hold much longer. But guess who else thinks that? The United States thinks that also. CNN, pro-Ukrainian CNN, Western media source. The U.S. and its allies want Ukraine to change its battlefield tactics in the spring. What does change our tactic mean? For now, it means get the hell out of Bakhmut. Now, it doesn't actually say that, but you tell me what you think this means. U.S. and Western officials are urging Ukraine to shift its focus from the brutal month-long fighting in the eastern city of Bakhmut. They don't like the way Ukraine is fighting Bakhmut. And then down here, again, same story. Convincing Zelensky. It is not clear, however, that Zelensky feels prepared to abandon Bakhmut. Now, the story doesn't say that the West is telling Zelensky to abandon Bakhmut, but by inference. Now, the YouTube, being a propaganda censorship platform, doesn't want you to use your own mind. And so I have to tell you, the story does not say that the Western governments are telling, that the United States in particular is telling Zelensky to surrender Bakhmut and get his forces out. But if you're a numbnut and you can't, use your own mind, that's all I'm saying. Holding Bakhmut would give Ukraine a better chance to take back the entire Donbass region, Zelensky believes. This is a CNN article saying. So those people that say Bakhmut is not important and then Bakhmut is not strategic, according to CNN, they are telling me that Zelensky does believe that Bakhmut is important. And that if Russia wins, it will give them an opening to advance further to the strategically important eastern cities of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. Enough said. Bakhmut is important for those people that have been saying not. But the situation in Bakhmut is going so badly, I believe, by inference, it sounds like that the Western countries are suggesting that Zelensky change his battle tactics from the meat grinder in Bakhmut to more, right here it says, Bakhmut, and focus instead on the style of mechanized maneuver warfare that uses rapid, unanticipated movement against Russian. Sources familiar with the discussion said, and you can go read it, the whole story, and get it in context from CNN, and that would be the title. I also want to show you this in the CNN article. It conflicts with another report I have. So Allegedly, from me, this could be a lie. CNN is reporting it as truth. On Monday, senior U.S. military officials told reporters that Russia has rushed in tens of thousands of ill-equipped, ill-trained, remember this, ill-equipped, ill-trained, replacement troops across the front line over the last several months, including to Bakhmut, amidst losses suffered. So I found this interview by Lobo Bebel. So I'm going to slap allege. Again, to be in all honesty, this could be a complete fake. But you take what this guy is saying, the interviewee, and the stories, it brings a picture together, and it makes a lot more sense. I queued it to this point, so I want you to listen to this.
I guess one of the big ones is, a lot of people are portraying Wagner Group as being, conscripts from jails and, being thrown in human waves for the lack of caring of human life, just at the problem. They're just throwing bodies at this without training or equipment or whatever. But you say, someone on the ground who's been there and doing it, that they are a near peer to, I guess, Western forces. And
near peer. The guy he's interviewing is Australian Mercenary. Wagner is near peer. He describes the overmatch in the combat capacity between Wagner and Ukraine forces around Bakhmut. I'll let you listen to more of it. He is saying that the Wagner is better equipped than the Ukrainian forces, that the Wagners are actually near peer to Western military forces. These convicts are not ill-equipped, as the article that I showed you before was stating.
It is so it is somewhat true. It is somewhat true. So they do use a lot of conscripts. Two things are at the same time. So Wagner themselves have taken very few casualties from what we've been able to tell.
Now, remember the other article. The article was saying that they're ill-equipped and they're taking casualties. But this Australian mercenary alleged, and I have to honestly say alleged. It seems very legitimate to me, but I do put that out there for you. So those of you that want to accept it, accept it. Those of you who do not want to accept the interview, don't accept it. But let's listen to what else he has to say.
And they generally do infiltration attacks. They will use what they call their fresh meat. That's what they call their first echelon. Those are conscripts. And they will send them into the attack. It isn't just human wave. They use a whole bunch of things.
Now, understand what he's about to explain. The Wagners, they call their rookie, their fresh troops, fresh meat. Now, it sounds bad, but what he is about to explain is before they send in this fresh meat, these fresh troops, ill experience, I should say, they soften up the Ukrainian positions. They soften the Ukrainians to the point that the Ukrainians are the ground beef. So let's listen.
So generally the way an attack will go in is they will use drones to try and spot enemy weak points. They'll concentrate their forces along a very short area of the front. They'll hit it with artillery, and the Russians in general have artillery overmatch, despite having inferior artillery, because...
I have to disagree that the Russians have inferior artillery, but what he is about to explain is, regardless of the fact that in his perspective the Russians have inferior artillery, the Russians use it in a much superior manner. Listen.
They have better ISR. So they have Orlan integrated into their individual batteries, whereas Ukraine does not do that. I mean, in general, it's unit by unit, but in general, the Russians have been better at that mission. So they usually will smash it with artillery, then they'll hit it with 30 miles.
You're saying before the Wagner send in their fresh meat, they'll smash it with artillery, they'll hit it with this grenade launcher. Listen on.
40 point blank. Grenade launchers, mortars, and by the time that first wave's gone over, the Ukrainians unfortunately don't rotate their forces, so they're just overwhelmed and they are able to sort of break through the enemy positions. And they have about 7 different assault groups that will go through. They have every soldier has Blue Force tracking, so they have...
I'm not sure what Blue Force tracking is. Maybe you guys can display in the description.
All of those conscripts have, they know exactly where they are. By contrast, Ukraine uses flags. You know,
I'm not sure what he means by that either. Uses flags to locate their troops?
and potentially panel markers. They don't even have like IR tabs. You know, it's,
Infrared tabs, allies can see that. That's just crazy.
so it is in many ways it is almost total capability overmatch. So there is truth to the fact that Wagner are incredibly ruthless, and they are total like dickbags, to be honest. And yeah, but the reality is that they are very much like pretty near peer.
Near peer, not to Ukraine, near peer to the United States forces.
24th in particular, 24th Brigade is massively under-equipped. It's total capability overmatch. You know, Wagner have Blue Force tracking drones, artillery, integrated combined arms attacks. They have numerical superiority, which means they can attrit the Ukrainians. They have infiltration teams. They have the cutting off Ukrainian positions quite effectively. And, you know, effectively the Ukrainians, you know, they don't, in many cases, don't even have MVGs in some cases. Like, you know, we're looking at, like, without getting into the secret source of what we're doing, like, we're trying to help them fight without NFE. And yeah, so to answer your question, that's probably one of the many things that isn't there.
I'm going to touch back on the maps really quickly. Remember, down in the description, there's timestamps so you can jump around the video wherever you want to jump around. Those of you that understand maps and know what you're looking at, I'm going to give you a little bit of input of the situation. This right here being Bakhmut, it appears that there's a couple of roads, maybe a train line, and this one here, it's gone. And, the Wagners have it. This seems to be the only path that is still open to supply the Wagners. Because what I am told is that even though the Wagners have only advanced to this position here, this road is under heavy operational containment. I don't know if that's the term or not. Basically, they can shell it to kingdom come. That is not a road you're going to bring in supply and troops. This is the one. And apparently this one is also under artillery fire. The reports that I am hearing are allegedly that the city is under tactical encirclement. It's already tactically encircled, not physically encircled. The Wagners, although, have done something I think is quite smart. It was expected that after taking Soledar, I thought so too, because they seem to have been doing it, they were going to drive forward to Seversk. What has happened in Seversk is that instead of driving north, the Russians are beginning to drive in from the east, and they're making good progress. This line here was previously straight. But back here in Bakhmut, initially, after breaking out of Soledar and breaking the line down here to the south, which would be right here where the orange line is, I thought, and a lot of people thought, that the Wagners would make a circle. They would encircle Bakhmut as quickly as they can to trap the thousands. I heard thousands of troops that allegedly are in Bakhmut. But instead, the Wagners have done something else. They have maintained pressure on Bakhmut, hold the troops there. Now remember, Zelensky allegedly has been advised to withdraw his troops before they get kaboomed in that city. and he's being stubborn and he wants to hold it. What the Wagners are doing is they're going for Savy Yar. So instead of encircling Bakhmut, which would require a lot more manpower and expose your back, they're pushing to cut off the supply line. Not even taking the road. They're pushing to take the city, take the main supply junction into Bakhmut. You, in essence, cut off Bakhmut. You take a point that you can then reinforce into your own little castle, and that'll give you a jumping point over to Kostranivak, a really good juicy pie. Yes. And this right here is the final line of defense. Ukraine lost the first line of defense has been busted in the Donbass. The second line of defense in the Donbass around here, it's breaking now. And now with these cities right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are the last line of defense. After that breaks down, The Wagner troops, the Russian forces, I truly believe, and others have said, are just going to steamroll over to the Dnieper River. For those of you that are new to Mudrogue, at the end of my show, if I can find something, and I found something here, I like to put something more lighthearted. So let's listen to this, and we'll do a commentary on it.
Guys, yesterday I had my first date with an American woman. And it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. An absolute disaster. I arrived at the restaurant. First of all, her name is Kimberly. Oh la la, Kimberly.
I have to comment because the YouTube wants me to. So he had a date with an American woman. It was a disaster. He's a French guy. He arrived at the restaurant, and this is what happened.
It's not my favorite name, but it's fine, you know. She's
The girl's name was Kimberly.
pretty, you know, so we sit down, we take the menu, and she looks me in the eyes and she tells me she doesn't eat gluten. You don't eat gluten? But how can you not eat gluten? Gluten is my life. Kimberly, gluten is...
She told him, at first it took me a while because of the accent. The Kimberly told him, I don't eat gluten, meaning she doesn't eat bread. You're going to tell a French guy you don't eat bread on a date?
It's croissant. Gluten is baguette. How can you not eat gluten? So I'm starting to be confused. I'm not going to lie. Oh, I look left, I look right. I'm a bit confused in this restaurant. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have some glass of wine, you know, like chill a little bit, you know. And so I was like, what do you want to drink? And she tells me she doesn't drink alcohol. Oh, la, la, la.
She doesn't drink alcohol.
Drink alcohol in your life, Kimberly. Alcohol is joy. Le vin, the wine is the joy. So I'm sorry if I left. I left the restaurant without saying goodbye. I couldn't stay there. I'm sorry, but I can't have a love relationship with someone who doesn't eat gluten and doesn't drink wine. I'm sorry, Kimberly.
I'm sorry, Kimberly. That is Western women. That is a lot of American women. American women are either really plump and they'll eat anything, or unfortunately, we're getting a bunch of these. You know, they're really nitpicky about what they eat. So way to go to you, French dude. You walked away from that blue-haired monster. I don't know. I didn't see a picture of her. So I am saying that she allegedly had blue hair and she was a monster. All right, guys. That's the Mudrogue Show for today. Thank you for watching. Take care. Later.